What's up, y'all? It's Behind the Razor Wire. Been a little minute since I've done a video, so this one's gonna be a little bit long. So do me a favor, sit back, grab something to snack on, grab a soda, and just lay back and enjoy the video. For those of y'all that haven't subscribed yet, do me a favor, man, just hit the button. You help me out a whole lot more than you know when you hit that button. Drop a comment, let me know what you think of the video, any suggestions, criticisms, whatever the case may be. Just support the channel, keep clicking. For those of y'all that have subscribed, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're helping me more than you know. This video is going to kind of go all over the place from time frame to time frame. But what it's about is more the high profile people and cases and situations that I've run into in prison. Different prisons, different people with big cases, people I've come face to face with and gotten to know myself, and stuff that I've seen. So, this first one, man, I'm start off by saying there was a friend of mine that had got locked up on an extremely high profile case back when we were younger. This was back in 2002. Most of y'all from Pasadena, if you were around in '02, you can think about the newspapers. I know it's a lot to go back that far, but for some of y'all, I'm pretty sure you know who it is and what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to blast him on there. He's a really good friend of mine. But when he had come into the jail, now this is Jennifer Road. I'm not in prison yet. Like I said, this is back in 2002. So I'm nothing but 20, maybe 19 years old. Yes, turned 21 in '03. But yeah, in '02, I'm sitting down the Anne Arundel County Detention Center, Jennifer Road, um, doing a few months for violating probation, and I'm hoping, obviously, when I go to court, after being down for a while, I'm gonna get time served, and I'm on my way out the door. My baby's mom was pregnant. She was getting ready to give birth to my second child, and I really wanted to get home. So, when I had heard that a friend of mine had gotten locked up on this case, I had also known that he had never been arrested a day in his life. And to go from never being arrested, never being in a set of handcuffs, to being arrested for what added up to be a murder case, I knew he was in the jail and he was going through it. You know, he's probably being tormented mentally and so on. So I did what I could. I did what I had to do to get to him, to get moved into the unit that he was on, which was a 23-1 lockdown unit. Now, obviously, we were a couple cells away from each other, but, you know, we could hold conversations because we were only one cell in between us, and the doors were open to where you could physically see out, speak out, you could fish down to them or what have you. So it was as close as I was going to get to being right near him. But we used to come out to rec together, use the phone together, and what have you. This one particular morning, they opened up the cells for rec. Man, it was just too early. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning. I just forget it. I'm just staying in bed. I'm not going. Flip back over. I'm going back to sleep, and I start hearing this commotion out in the day room. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's over. All of a sudden, I just hear my buddy, you know, screaming, "What the hell? What the fuck? You know, come on, man, chill out. Don't go there." And on the other hand, I'm hearing, "You little bitch. I'm gonna kill you." So on and so forth. Anyway, you can see where this is going. Dude's trying to lean on my homeboy. I'm not one to go for that. I'm not letting anybody just lean on one of my homeboys, my friends. I'm gonna be in that. So I started raising hell in the cell. I'm kicking the doors, the walls, the bars, screaming at the COs to let me out the cell. And they finally let me out the cell. They let me out. I come barreling around the corner. Now, mind you, I can't see anything. I'm in a tier. It's just straight cells to the up, down, and back. And there's a day room out in the front. They're out in the day room having this confrontation, and I'm back here in the cell. So when they popped in doors, I was gone. Shoot up to the front. I bend the corner and I see my homeboy. What's up, man? Who are you beefing with out here, man? I said, whoever the fuck is jumping in my homeboy's shit, you know, we're gonna have to do this thing. Nobody's threatening my man out here. And there I actually referred to him as my cousin, so people would obviously take it a little more serious than, hey, that's just my buddy. You know, this is my cousin. We're family. You're not just gonna lean on my boy. You damn sure not gonna just put your hands on my boy. To this day, I want to slap him for this. Like I said, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew they were beefing. Man, I get around this corner, and I'm looking for who was jumping in my man's shit. Now, mind you, his voice sounded like this. Just a real helium type of voice. You know, he had one of them sissified voices. Like a Mike Tyson type of voice. And that's exactly what this situation turned out to be. Man, when I came around that corner, this dude is every bit of 6'3". Bald head is Mr. Clean. Muscled up like he'd been in the gym since he could walk. Just a big, big, big dude. Looked at my homeboy. I said, man, what did you do to get me in this bullshit? Because that dude's going to kill you. He wants to rip your head off. I'm going to do what I can. He's not just going to put his hands on you, but I'm not Superman. I don't think this dude's going to have a problem ripping both our heads off. And if I'm getting fucked up, you're getting fucked up. Trust and believe that. Thank God it didn't really go down that way. Cooler heads prevailed. And we wound up talking it out. What actually turned out, what actually wound up happening was he had made a trade with this Mike Tyson voice guy. Something for some food, for something. Whatever the case may be, and he reneged on the deal. He didn't send the guy the food. So when the guy came out the cell the next day, he was confronting him about that food. And like I said, my homeboy has never been to jail a day in his life. Apparently he says he forgot about the deal. Whatever the case may be. We wound up getting worked out. But, you know, that goes back to every prison video you'll ever see. Or anybody ever speak on it. 60 days in, whatever the case may be. You make a deal with somebody, you pay your deal. You only got two things. Your balls and your word in prison. You better keep your word. So everything was diffused. You know, it's everything's cool, laid low. We actually wound up, you know, because the big dude wound up being like 2 cells down from me, I think. Wound up actually being really cool with the dude. He was alright. His name was Ernie. And yeah, y'all that was in Jennifer Road back in '02, you might remember Ernie. Well, Ernie goes to court one morning. And I hadn't spoken to Ernie about his court date. But a couple dudes were like, damn, you know, good luck, Ernie. Most of the fellas will always say good luck to whoever's going to court. Everybody want to see everybody go home for the most part. And started asking people what Ernie went to court for. And a lot of people were like, damn, man, you don't know? Nah, man, never heard of Ernie a day in my life. Turned out Ernie had been in the news for quite a while. He had been in a jail for over a year and a half waiting to go to his trial. And generally, when you're in jail that long, especially in the detention center around here, they're building a big case on you, and it's definitely something serious. Come to find out, the very the very high profile case that Ernie was charged with was he had actually killed I think it was 3 people, an entire family. I believe it was a husband and wife, and I want to say the wife's sister, something like that. But he had killed all 3 of them. He put them in the trunk of his car and drove around with them in the trunk of the car for 4 or 5 days in the summertime. What wound up getting him busted was he was the last one obviously seen at the crime scene. But somebody had smelled this horrendous smell coming out of the trunk of this man's car while he was in a Walmart. And that's what got him busted. Now, had this happened in a day and age where Maryland still had the death penalty, this man would have got that death penalty. Now, that was the first time that I had an experience with like a high profile case type of dude. The second one, I had actually gotten into a fight. I know me, right, in a fight. But I had gotten into a fight in the unit. We were up on steel side, medium security. There's a dorm with 20 men. It's just bars wrapped all the way around you with 10 bunks with top bunks on top of them, 3 steel tables, and a TV. It's pretty much just a bird cage with a television in it, 2 bathrooms, and 1 itty bitty shower. There was a younger kid. He was probably 17 years old. Got into it with another dude. He was sweeping underneath his bunk because we all used to clean. We all had like one set of bunks was responsible for a day, so it went in a rotation all the way around the dorm. And so this kid's sweeping, and the little dust bunnies had flown underneath this guy's bunk. And I guess he had decided that this was going to be the time that he was going to man up. He was going to stand up, and I guess based on somebody. The kid's name was Junior. Should give you an idea right there. Just a really young kid. Told this kid he was going to tear his head off for these dust bunnies flying up underneath his bed. We're not going for that. You're not. This is like a 50-year-old man saying this shit to this kid over sweeping the floor. But anyway, I wound up taking up for him. Long story short is I wind up on lockup. After I'm on lockup for a few hours, I had gotten put in a cell by myself. I had actually got some sleep because I was in a cell by myself, pitch black, dead quiet at nighttime. Man, I got some really good sleep. But they woke me up and moved me into a cell across the tier. So I get into that cell and I jump up on the top bunk just like you would do with any other cell buddy or any other cell. Hop up on the top bunk, and we had woken up for breakfast. This was the first time I meet this man. He jumps up, hey, how you doing? Yada, yada, yada. We had eaten breakfast. We had rec early that morning, so we just stayed up after breakfast, went out to get the shower. On lockup at the detention center, as long as you're not on disciplinary seg, meaning you haven't gone up for your ticket yet, you could still use the phone. So we had gone out, taken our little showers, gotten on a little phone, read the newspaper, whatever we're going to do for an hour that we get out of the cell. And we go back in. So we're in the cell for a little bit. And he starts asking me, you know, what are you in for? How long you been here? It's just the usual questions. You're trying to get to know yourself, buddy. So I told him I'm in here violating probation, second degree assault case from a fight. You know, had a year of backup time and another violation of probation. Whatever the case may be, my case was small. And like I said, I was waiting to hopefully go home when I got to court in a couple months. Obviously, the fights and stuff weren't helping my case any, but that's what I was hoping for. So I asked him in turn, what are you in for? Why are you down here on lockup? And stone cold in the eye, this man looks me dead in my face and says, oh, they're trying to give me life. Now this man ain't nothing but maybe 18 when he's looking at me saying this, right? Just kind of look at him. Those of y'all that have had charges, I don't know how all the other places do it or other states and stuff like that besides the ones that I've been in. But in Maryland, they give you a piece of paper with all your charges in it when you see the commissioner. The maximum penalty, the maximum fine, what you're charged with, and they break it down for you. And there's always the maximum sentences, like I said. So I'm figuring, okay, he's 18 years old, he's looking at his charge papers, and between all of his charges, I'm figuring he's adding it up. You know, you're facing 10 years for this, 15 years for this, 5 years for this, so on and so on and so on and so on. A lot of people try to make themselves poke their chest out a little bit because they're facing a whole lot of time by looking at all these big numbers. I didn't think nothing else of it. I just asked what he was in there for, and he finally drops it on me. Says he's in there for murder. Okay. I'm not going to sleep right. You know, at least in the short term of being in here, I'm not going to sleep right knowing this dude's in here for killing somebody. But I hadn't really found out the details. Again, same situation happens. This man goes to court from lockup. And that day, the newspaper obviously hit the tier again. He was at court, so I was out at wreck by myself. So I'm reading the newspaper, and there he is. Sean Allman, directly across the top of the front page of the Annapolis Gazette. Or the Capital, whichever newspaper it was, doesn't matter. But his name is across the top of it, real big. Goes on trial today. So obviously I started reading into it. I'm curious because this is my cell buddy. I can see his name in black and white. I want to know exactly what he's being charged with. And apparently it was him and I think 4 other people. After looking this up, I'm just trying to think of the number, but I had looked this up just to research it for doing the video, but their names were Sean Allman, Andrew Hanshoe, Tracy Devilbliss, James Blake, and like I said, I think there's another guy. And what these guys were the Glen Burnie, Maryland White Crips. We'll get into some gang stuff in other videos and whatnot, but just right there is just red flags shooting up like bottle rockets, man. First off, I don't know of a whole lot of white Crips, but I definitely don't know of any sets that are all white in Glen Burnie hanging out at a pool hall claiming Crips. Call me crazy, I don't know. There was a leader of these Crips. Now I'm going to put a picture up here of this story on Google and what have you. Y'all can look it up if you want to. But the guy's name was, I think, Mark Miller. And they were at a house party. And what they were actually doing was taking a wire coat hanger and bending it all up, sitting it on the stove, and getting the coat hanger red hot. And they were branding these females on their skin, on like the back of their neck, branding Crips and their name across the back of these girls' necks, saying that these were Crip girls and whose girl they were, who they belonged to. Can't make this stuff up. What they wound up doing was they were letting the leader, Mark, he's branding the females. They're all drinking, having a good time, but what they don't know is my cell buddy, Sean Allman, who's the mastermind of this whole deal. They sneak up behind this poor guy in the kitchen. All of them have knives. And they started chopping him up, man. They slit his throat, but they didn't slit it deep enough. He took off running. Ran towards the front door. Apparently he fell, slammed into the door. They start stabbing him some more. All of them. I'm pretty sure that... Now, mind you, this is after I seen it in the newspaper. When he came back, I'm asking him how the trial started going and what have you. And he showed me all the paperwork. I think they said that the man had something like 78 stab wounds. I'm guessing at the number, but it was something super high like that. And they had slit his throat. Wound up being like 4 or 5 times, man. Like, they really brutalized this guy. But he was still alive. Now, this part still gives me, like, want to throw up. They drugged the man across the street out into a baseball field by a school. They actually laid him in a dugout, like a baseball diamond dugout on the bench. They laid him there. And when the other ones got grossed out, they were tired of it, they thought he was dead, they took off running. My cell buddy, Sean, matter of fact, just remembered he called himself Sin, like Sincere from Belly. Come on, man. But after they had all take off running, this man literally beat this man's brains out of his head with a fucking claw hammer. Ugh. That's some vicious shit. Anyway, when that's all said and done, they wound up stealing the man's money out of his dead pockets. They went around the corner to the 7-Eleven and they bought Big Bite hot dogs, Slurpees, and cigarettes. According to the paperwork I read, with blood all over them and brain matter all over Sean. Needless to say, I couldn't stay in that cell anymore after I found out all these details. But just going from a little pity-ass fight where I'm minimum security, I've been in there for a couple months, hopefully getting ready to go home. And now you got me in a cell, fucking Scarface or something. Just a batshit crazy motherfucker who's only 18 years old and he's happy he's going to prison. Telling me his father is in the Cut. Cut's closed down now, but any of y'all from Maryland know what the Cut was. Any of y'all not from Maryland, Google the Cut. You'll see what I'm talking about. One of the most vicious jails on the East Coast in history. But that's where his dad was, and he was trying to get there to do this life sentence he knew he was about to get. So he go spend the rest of the time with his dad. That was the first time I had encountered face to face in the cell like that and learned all the details and actually experienced sleeping within a couple feet of a murderer, being just a young kid myself. So now we fast forward a little bit. I've been through my first prison sentence. I've been through my second prison sentence. I'm now on my third prison sentence. I wind up in Baltimore City because of the charge I had got. I was in a fight out front of a nightclub in Baltimore City. When I was in the fight, a cop tried to break up the fight. I wound up hitting the cop. I got charged with assaulting a police officer. Got 2 years in Baltimore City. Back then, minimum security. You caught your charge in the city, you're going to the penitentiary. Before it was condemned and so on. But this is 2009, and I walk into the penitentiary. Now, I had been at a couple prisons before, but this penitentiary was its own animal. Terrifying place. I'll put a couple pictures up here for you. But it looked like fucking Skeletor's castle. Just treacherous. No windows in the place. Rats and roaches running around on the floor. No, like I said, no windows in the place, so there was no AC. And in the wintertime, there was no heat. And there's pigeons. No exaggerations. Pigeons flying around over top of you, shitting on you. So you couldn't eat when you were outside the cell, or a pigeon might shit in your food. People got shit on every day by these pigeons, and the rats would steal any food you had in your cell. Just a horrible place to be. I've talked about it in a couple other videos. Just a dungeon. But it was the first time I had ever seen any type of corruption, like from the guards, and like blatantly just out in the open. You know, this penitentiary, it was very, very easy to get a hold of a cell phone, tobacco. There was more tobacco in there than they had in the Exxon up the street. The drugs were just rampant. I mean, the place was just off the hinges. Just absurdly crazy. And obviously with that much stuff coming into the prison, there's only one way that amount of stuff's getting in. It's the guards. And there was no mystery to it. Everybody knew the guards were doing it. And some of the guards were just out in the open so big, you know, so flagrantly that you just knew it was them bringing the stuff. Not to mention when the package would land at the you know, so-and-so's cell. As soon as the CO would leave, about 20 minutes later after it's bagged up, hey, yo, tobacco out. Hey, yo, dope's here. Hey, yo, coke's here. Whatever. If it landed, they're screaming, they're selling, they're hustling, they're making money off the break. And no lie, by the time that stuff happened to the next time we came out for a meal or something, you know, half the cell blocks on a nod, the other half's just giggling and geeking from smoking the weed. Just, the whole place was just high, 24 hours a day. Now, like I said, the COs were just out in the open with it. And there were no windows. Now, where I was at over on A block for the last half of the time I was in the penitentiary, I was on what they call the flats. the very, very bottom tier, where the rec area is, and so on. And like I said, there's no windows over there. So at nighttime, you might see the nighttime cleanup guys come by. They're sweeping, mopping, doing whatever they got to do. And all of a sudden, an arm would come through the window, dropping off 25 cans of top tobacco. Or grocery bags full of cell phones. Or whatever. It was coming through the windows. And then you started seeing it as you kept your eyes open. I had been there for a little bit. And I had heard about some things. And I had seen some ass whoopings and some stabbings. And, you know, all these things go on. But like I said, as you're in there more and you become more aware of what your surroundings are and how they're going, you would see some dudes get into it with the COs. You know, oh, fuck you, and suck my, you know, all these things they get to beefing with the COs about. And then in the middle of the night, you just start hearing screaming. And it's not just screaming to be loud, it's screaming for help. Screaming like somebody's raping them. I mean, just terrifying screams. Coming from a couple tiers up or a few cells down. It's pitch black in there besides the security lights. But these COs are gang members. These COs are plugged in with these people. And like I've said in other videos, these COs from the city, these are the hood COs. They live right down the street from the prison. They're in the middle of the inner city. So they grew up with some of these dudes that are in the prison. They're ganged up with some of these dudes in the prison. You know, all these things. They're just connected. So if they get to beefing with an inmate, it ain't nothing for them to say, yo, I'll give you a can of tobacco. Or, yo, I'll give you $100. Or, I'll bring you a cell phone in. Let me pop his gate right there at cell 215. You go in there and put that work in. Somebody who ain't got shit, somebody wants a cell phone, somebody wants some cigarettes, somebody wants some dope. A lot of big drug habits in there. They're going to do that. And if they won't do it, somebody else will. So you've been seeing this, and you would see the COs out in the open. You know, an inmate might get flipped with them, or they might get to arguing, because these COs would just try to, like, really drag on you, like, embarrass the shit out of you, just talk reckless out the side of their neck to you. And, you know, a lot of people just not going to take that, especially from the CO. But you would see these gang members or the CO just out of nowhere. Did that CO just punch that dude in the mouth? Hell yeah, he just punched him in the fucking mouth, and that's why he's over there kicking the shit out of him right now, too. And then when he's finished, whatever inmates that CO's fucking with, or whatever gang he's fucking with, they're going to whoop yo's ass, too. So we're seeing all this stuff going on, and quite a few nights I actually seen through the window a few fifths of like Grey Goose or Crown Royal or Captain Morgan or Hennessy, or all these liquor bottles would come through these windows. The next day, you come out the cell and these dudes are destroyed. Forget the prison wine. These dudes are drinking uptown shit. Big stupid cups, just getting plowed. Now, these are just a few things that I'm seeing. But, like I said, it all comes back to how out there the COs are with it. Matter of fact, here's one more that goes with it. I was in medical. Went down to get some cold pills or something. I didn't feel too good. And when I was in there, they brought a dude in there that I had known named J-Rock. J-Rock was in handcuffs. We knew he had just got locked up. I'm like, what's up, man? What happened? He's like, oh, they caught me with my cell phone. Damn, bro. That means you're going to sit at Supermax for a security breach, so on and so on. Well, while he's sitting there in the handcuffs and getting checked out by medical so he can go across the street to Supermax on lockup, that cell phone that they just busted him with is ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. And you could hear the lieutenants and the guards, they're all talking about it. He'd be like, man, this phone won't stop ringing, man. It's money, boy. You was hustling, man. Da 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 da. And the one lieutenant, I swear, can't make it up. The lieutenant looks down at the phone. He says, man, that phone's ringing again. That's a phone number from inside the prison. The hell is that number doing calling your phone? J-Rock just put his head down. I mean, what's he gonna say? So the fucking lieutenant just picks up the phone. He doesn't say much. Yo, what's up? Yeah. Alright. Blah. Whatever. I don't know exactly how the conversation went, but that's like what I'm hearing go through his end of the phone. And this lieutenant gets on his cell phone. He calls another guard from Intel, which is the intelligence unit. They do all the undercover shit trying to catch the drugs, the phones, who's getting hit for hire, whatever. So he called another CO and he says, yo, go up in J-Rock's cell. Get up under his covers in his bunk and just wait. I had no idea what that meant or what they were doing. I just knew it couldn't be good. What it actually wound up being was there was a CO bitch that he was fucking. She was calling his phone to let him know that she was going to come up to the cell on his lunch break, or on her lunch break, and give him some ass. So the lieutenant is on the phone, acting like he's him, hearing that he's getting ready to get some ass from this CO at lunchtime. So he put that CO in there under the guy's blanket. So when this girl comes over there and unlocks his cell door, she's going in the door, and lo and behold, she's getting undressed, and whatever, she's getting ready to break you off. Another CO jumps out from under the covers. They done busted this bitch, arrested her on the spot. They wrapped a blanket around her and brought her across the whole yard in handcuffs in front of everybody. Just embarrassing the shit out of her. Just hilarious. So, not to get off the subject, it was just one more story to go with this, but a couple of weeks goes by and it was just a regular old day. Now on Tuesdays we were locked down all day besides for going out to meals. They called it Lockdown Tuesday. But this wasn't Lockdown Tuesday. This was a Monday or a Thursday or something like that. I can't remember what day of the week it was. But we were locked down. Nobody came out. We weren't even going out for food. We weren't going out for medical or medication or nothing. Normally when you're locked down, you got your times. You got your medical pass. Go get your pills. You're going out to eat. You're going to take a shower. There's certain times they got to let you out the cell. Not today. They weren't letting none of that happen. All of a sudden, I'd say about 150 real police, and I'm talking Baltimore City Police, Anne Arundel County Police, Baltimore County Police, the Goon Squad, the CERT team, you name it. All these dudes are combat dressed out like the SWAT team, and they ran in that bitch like it was a crack house and people were gonna shoot at them. Wow. Now, obviously, there's 5 tiers. Something like 20 cells per tier going all the way up. So they can't get to all of them at once. But they had the water shut off. Nobody knew they'd shut the water off. Then the power was cut off. Everybody knew when the power went off. You see shit. Now, the penitentiary was all, the doors were prison bars, like from the old movies. And you just saw things flying out these bars. Cigarettes, drugs, Grey Goose bottles were flying from 5 tiers all the way down and smashing everywhere. There, just stuff flying everywhere, all kind of contraband, knives, baseball bat. I mean, there was shit coming from everywhere. Everybody trying to avoid getting busted with what they could, and trying to hide as best they could, whatever they could, so they could have it when it was done. Because this was the mother of all shakedowns. And nobody really knew why. So we were locked down for about a week while they're doing the most ignorant shakedown you ever seen in your life. The strip searches, beating people's ass if they gave them any lip, just macing them. And they had the old school Baltimore City billy clubs they were flipping around when they came in. Like, they were abusing people if they got out of line. And while this is all going on, they had a group of regular COs that came down to the flats over on A Block where I was at. And one of those sergeants that I told you was just flagrant. Had people beat up all the time. Was obviously bringing stuff in for folks and so on. All of a sudden, his hands are up against the wall. Yeah. Then they slapped the handcuffs on him. Along with this entire other group of people that he walked over with. All these other COs. There was about 20 or 25 of them. All of them went in handcuffs. What? Like, everybody's bugging out. Like, are you serious? They're arresting the COs? And they're tearing all our shit apart? What the fuck is going on? Well, it turned out that a very big majority of the COs that had just got arrested, like I said, they were all gang members. But most of these were BGF members who, now mind you, this is all like through the grapevine as it all filtered down after all the shakedown stuff settled down and all that. But they had all had a meeting at some restaurant in downtown Baltimore with the BGF members, and we're talking all the way down to like senators and congressmen, and like, I mean, you're talking some big boy shit here. And they arrested all them people. We got news cameras running through there with the great big ass lights on them, shining down on them while they're following the police out in handcuffs. The newspapers are coming through the door, a couple days after that, with the mugshots of all the COs that were just doing all that crudball shit. Just news for days and days and days was all about these COs in this prison, and we're watching it all go down, how they indicted all of them. And they all got prison time. Come to find out, it went all the way to like murder for hires and extortions, racketeering, and attempted murder. Like, it was more than just smuggling stuff in a jail. Like, they were doing some really crazy shit. And for those of y'all that are from Maryland or was in the system back in '09, you'll remember that when that Maryland penitentiary got hit, they found not one, but 2 handguns. Yes, guns in the prison. Because there was a hit out on a witness that was in that prison. Them COs had brought a gun in. 2 of them, as a matter of fact. to make sure that if one of the guns got knocked off, they would have another one and still be able to kill this dude before he went to court. Now, for those of us, like I said, this is '09. I've been to a couple prisons, but I ain't never seen no shit like that. That was some scary shit. To know that this dude, Christ, could have been one rec period away from getting his head blown off. Right there on the tier when we come out for rec or in the weight pit. God knows where these dudes would have started spraying or shooting if he started running or what. I don't even want to think about it. But that was some serious shit. So this next one. Wow, this next one. So, I've talked about being at ECI before. This one is at ECI. Now, mind you, I've only been at ECI for a few weeks. I don't really know what's going on. I know there's a lot of bloods in this jail. This jail is flooded with bloods. And you hear about all the stuff that's coming in, all the things you can get your hands on, Suboxone strips like it ain't nothing. If you want a flash drive, pornos on it, that can be done, a cell phone, whatever. At ECI, especially in this housing unit 1 that I was in, anything could be gotten like that if you had the money. Like I said, I had only been there a few weeks, and again, the same thing happens. We're locked down. Same deal. One of those hard lockdowns. We're not even walking up to get the trays like any other lockdown. You would walk to the kitchen, get your styrofoam tray, walk back and eat it yourself. They weren't doing that. They were bringing bag lunches to the cell. And obviously, we knew about it when the kitchen workers didn't go up and go to work in the morning to make breakfast. And then when they started banging on your door first thing in the morning, throwing 2 bag lunches in, one for you, one for your cellie, and there was boiled eggs in it with a milk, we knew we were in some shit. I'll put the Google results right here from this one. But as the sun starts to come up and everybody's panicking, thinking it's a shakedown, everybody's trying to get their shit in order, hide their stuff in their little whammy spots, and hurrying up and getting ownership papers done on your TVs and your electronics that you don't own so they don't take them from you. Just all that crazy shit, preparing for a shakedown like you normally would. But this wasn't a shakedown. A few hours into the sun being up, everybody's asking COs when they come by, what's going on, why we locked down. COs ain't saying shit. Nothing. Normally there's at least 1 or 2 that's like, shakedown. You know, they started on the other side, they're coming, whatever. Nothing. They wouldn't even say it was a shakedown, it wasn't a shake, nothing. And then people started looking at their cell windows towards the yard. And there is a sea of black boots and blue jackets coming across this compound, marching like a troop in the army. And every last one of them, like I'm saying, these blue jackets said DEA, FBI, SWAT, police, you name it, they were coming in. These were the feds. And people are having a panic attack. They came in there, but they didn't blitz everybody's cells like they would for a shakedown. They had strategically mapped out what cells they were going to and start snatching people out the cells. Not standing them out there and strip searching them like they're tearing their cell apart. None of that. They're just coming to their door, running in there, throwing them in handcuffs. Didn't matter if you had boxers, socks, a shirt, you was dressed, you wasn't, whatever. They didn't give a fuck. They went in handcuffs and got drug out the tier. If they went, their cellie went. They took them out too. They locked their door. They ordered the deadlock so no matter what, that cell wouldn't come open without a CO authorizing it coming open or what have you. And when we saw the first couple cells get hit like that, we figured, okay, a couple of these dudes are getting jammed up for whatever. We didn't know what. But they didn't stop after the first few. They just kept coming back and getting more and more and more people. And then they went to the control room. When they got to the control room, now mind you, we're all just thinking they're going to the control room, they're going to talk shit with the COs or the guards or whatever they're going to do. No. They started handcuffing them guards. What? Yo, Sally, come look at this shit. Yo, they just locked Sergeant Presley up. Yo, they're locking these COs up. They're locking these COs up like they're running into a dope corner on the street or something. They're just locking them up and locking them up. And you're watching them get marched across the compound. Everybody's like, what in the fuck is going on? So we were locked down for a few days. And the reason they had us locked down for a few days, even after they came in and got who they wanted to get, is they still had to go tear apart these cells that they just pulled these people out of. And what they were finding was some big boy shit. Big boy shit. You had the smartphones. We had... See, what the jail wasn't hip to when they gave us the PlayStations and the Xboxes is they weren't hip to the fact that you had internet access on them if you could get the signal. So to get smuggled in, all you had to do was get one of those little flash drives with your Wi-Fi on it. Smuggled in, you just plug it into the USB on your PlayStation, or you get your little iPhone or your Droid or whatever, and you use your little hotspot and hook your PlayStation up. So now you're playing online. You might be playing Call of Duty with your homeboy, popping your flash drive in, you watch your little pornos, or you're on Facebook, or you're doing Wi-Fi calls with your girl, or whatever. All that shit was there. They're finding the phones, the flash drives. They're finding stacks of Suboxone like this. Just thousands of Suboxone strips at a time. Or, I don't know, bricks of dope like this. Heroin, coke. I mean, tobacco bags this big. Uptown knives. Like machete type joints. Just stuff you wouldn't even dream would be in a prison. Now, you know stuff comes in a prison, but until you see stuff like that, you're just like, God damn, they were doing big things. Come to find out, through all of that, they wound up arresting 80-something people. And the majority of them were guards. Now you had the inmates that got locked up, obviously doing the bribes and paying the money and getting the stuff or whatever. But not only did they go after them, they went after the people's family and the people's homeboys and friends and girls or whatever that met the COs to give them the stuff to bring in, they went and locked them up. So, you know, if you had your mom, your grandmom, your girl, your homeboy, your brother, your sister, whoever bring this stuff out to the COs to bring it into you, yeah, they were coming. So while they're hitting the prison, they're hitting people's houses on the street so that people can't get word to everybody, let them know all this stuff's going down, so people can't get on the run or whatever. So they did this massive coordination. It was insane. Locked all these people up. They said that a bunch of COs had caught wind that a bust was coming. And they made arrangements to not come to work. A bunch of them had actually quit their job and just not come back for like a week before this bust happened. And then you had the other ones that they had forgot to get, or I guess went further in the investigation before they could lock them up. And these assholes, these feds, now this is from COs telling us this now, they had organized a pancake breakfast at like a Holiday Inn at Ocean City, Maryland for the COs. It was a officer appreciation type of deal, they said. And they were giving away like holiday bonuses and stuff like that. And they invited all these COs, and when these COs would come to the hotel for their breakfast and sign in, they had to present their little ID saying that they were who they said they were. And instead of getting a pancake breakfast, they got locked the fuck up too. Apparently they did like 3 different rounds of locking people up between the big raid on the prison, the breakfast thing, and then hitting the houses all in the street. They locked all these people up. And these COs all wound up getting like 6 years, and 5 years, and 10 years, and whatever. And they spilled the beans on everything. But it all comes back to another gang running the prison. The Bloods had that shit on lock. Whatever they wanted, done. Kill somebody, done. Beat somebody up, done. It didn't matter what it was. They had stuff going down on the streets like crazy. And that brings me to when I came off a lockup at ECI. I had just done 30 days on lockup for cussing a CO out. And I get moved over to Housing Unit 2. Housing Unit 2 was known as the Jungle. Housing Unit 1 was like strictly a Bloods unit. You know, there was some DMI, some BGF there, but they were all pretty much quiet. This was the Bloods Housing Unit. Bloods ran everything, the phones, everything. Housing Unit 2 was pretty much a mixture. So, I get moved over to Housing Unit 2. And I get in the cell. Meet my cellie. Same deal as every other time moving in with a cell buddy. You get to know who you're talking to and who you're living with and what have you. And my antennas were up a little bit because this dude just wanted to know a whole lot about me, and I could not figure out why. But he's skeptical, so I let him do his little due diligence or what have you. Apparently got on the phone. Now, he told me all this after the fact, but he had gotten on the phone with his old lady with my information, my real name, my DOC number, my Maryland Judiciary lookup, the whole 9 yards, before he figured out who I was and realized that I wasn't there to do him no harm. And I couldn't figure out why he was so paranoid until I had been in there with him for about a good month, and we had some conversations where he broke it down to me. He was at a prison called MCIJ in Jessup. This is yet another Another CO corruption case. This was a big one. Now my cellie, his name is James, and the CO that had gotten busted was actually one of the very big leaders of the Crips from Baltimore, from East Baltimore down here. And they had the intelligence unit, which is in charge of, like I said, dismantling the gangs and separating people and getting all the intel they can get about what crimes and drugs and whatever's going on in the prison. But they had this intel dude, the lieutenant of the intel gang unit, in their pocket. Dude was bringing everything in for him. They all started going to court. These guys were indicted. They were, first off, let me take it back. At MCIJ, they had the same stuff going on. Cell phones, porn, money, drugs, whatever. They had it all. And when they wound up knocking all these dudes off with all this contraband stuff, they wound up finding records of what inmates had paid what guards what to do what have you. Put a picture of the chart of all the Crips that you'll see, all of which got indicted from the stuff inside the prison. 19 counts of murder between them, a whole bunch of racketeering, murders for hire, and so on. Come to find out that I'd been in a cell with this dude for a month, and I realized he wasn't nothing to play with. Like, this dude was the only Crip on the tier, and he had actually taken one of the phones from the Bloods on the tier by himself. This man's name rung bells in the prison. Like I said, come to find out, he was a pretty damn high-ranking Crip, and you'll see him up at the top of this power tree or indictment tree that the feds put up on the news. He had actually bought, as a wedding present, he bought a BMW X5 for this dude and his wife as a wedding present. I mean, that's some... You're making some serious moves. You're buying BMWs for the guards. But like I said, it took me quite a while to realize who he was and what he was doing. It wasn't hard for him to make moves and make things happen. But after he got comfortable with me, I got comfortable with him. He realized, after looking me up and asking around the prison about me, that I'm a good dude. I'm a straight up dude. I keep it 100. I don't lie. I don't snitch. I ain't got no bones in my body like that. That he started, opening up, looking out for me or whatever. I might hold this or that for like an hour or two. And I'm talking hold some serious shit. But, he'd let me chill with the bike. Sit on the phone and talk to whoever. We had the PlayStation hooked up like I was telling you about. It'd be Facebooking and whatnot. And he went to court. Well, I didn't have to wait for the newspaper on this one, because it was on the news that morning, it was on the news that afternoon, and it was on the news that night. And it was him every time. Basically that he was taking a rap for like all 19 of these murders and all of this shit that was going on. Like, I'm not going to say too much about him because I know the case is still going on. I don't know where this video might lead. But he's a good dude, man. I hope he makes out, man. But I don't know what he did or didn't do. I just know what we had conversations about. And like I said, it's just amazing who you wind up encountering as you go through prison and how much high profile stuff you're going into. I know this video had actually ran kind of long, but this is a lot of stuff to enlighten y'all about, and I haven't done a video in like a week. So I'm going to cut it short here. Now, there are plenty of other high-profile people that I ran into, and I'll be more than happy to make another video on some of them later. And with any luck, if I can find the time, I have plans for another video tomorrow. But I got to edit this one. It's going to take a while. For those of y'all that have done me a favor and subscribed to the channel, I really appreciate y'all. Thanks for the support. For any of y'all that haven't subscribed, do me a favor, man, and just hit the subscribe button for me. It's nothing to click one button. It would really help me out as I keep trying to grow this channel. Drop me a comment. Let me know how you like the video. Any criticism, any suggestions, or what you'd like to see another video on, just give me a shout. I try to answer every comment I get, every email that comes from it. But I appreciate y'all, man. I'll see y'all next time.